Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this topic, we will be going over the idea of corporate games. And corporate games meaning that no, we are not going to be going over how to play ping pong better than your coworkers or how to play laser tag and always beat your boss. I'm talking about the social games that you have to play to remain on a good standing with the company so that you always get promoted and that you really just keep your job over time. And so there's been situations in the past where I have seen personally where people really pretend to care about something and it's sort of a show. So it's hard for me to decipher if someone is truly being honest about these goals that a company's put on us or if they're just really playing a bluff just so it looks like they really do care. You know, sometimes you might see someone, and I know someone in the past where they would always say that they come in extra early in the morning just to get in before everyone else and then stay extra late. And then they say that they get most of the work done because they're the longest. And those are the corporate games that we're going to go over in this video and how to deal with it or how to think about it so that if you're ever in a situation where you have to play the corporate game, you understand it's literally just a game and not a true behavior that you must have. And just so you guys know, I had to write a really long script and detailed script to stay on track for this video because I didn't want it to be just negative comments about being an employee at a company. I really wanted to give you guys a positive spin on it so that if you do have to work at a company while you build up your side business or build up several income streams, you understand that there's a purpose behind it and that it's temporary ultimately so that you can still focus on the things that you really want to do down the road. I understand that for most of us, we'll probably have to experience a corporate life, and I just want you to understand that if you have that mindset and you really go out there and take action and develop these businesses along the way that you have control of, or you get a job that you really like, then you could be much more happy with what you're doing rather than just being stuck in a situation where you're unhappy and you're going to be thinking that you're going to do this for the next 10 or 15 years. And so with this video, let's take a positive mindset of the corporate games and how you can really interact in that social circle to keep your job while you still build up those income streams, and then understand the reasoning behind it so that you don't go insane. So unfortunately, most of us will probably have to experience the corporate games in our lifetime. And it might be in the beginning, it might be the whole thing, but hopefully if you're watching this video, you understand the corporate games and hopefully you can get out of it if that is something that you want to do early in life so that you don't spend your entire life trying to figure out how to get out of it. And I'm not really sure what's worse. You guys tell me in the comments below, is it worse to be in the rat race and not know that you're in the rat race where you're just trying to climb this corporate ladder and competing against your coworkers? Or is it worse to know that you're in the rat race and you're stuck, you feel stuck, and you're trying to get out of it, but it's like very hard to get out because the system's made that you continuously have to be pulled back in to work and really just trade your time for money. So let me know in the comments below of what you think is worse, not knowing that you're in the rat race or knowing that you are in the rat race and you're just trying to get out of it. Ultimately though, in this video, what I want to do is help you guys have that mindset of figuring out ways to develop multiple income streams so that if you do want to get out of the rat race, you can take the steps to do so and then really take action on it. And then hopefully down the road, maybe in a couple of years, you're actually out of the rat race and then you can help others along the way. So hope you guys like this video. Let me know. Let's get started. So there are times when I see people get emotionally involved and invested in corporate goals, and this really does make me confused. So there have been situations where I'll see that we don't meet our corporate goals or our corporate metrics, and some people will break down in tears. And I am sitting in the room, in the conference room, trying to figure out if they're really serious about this, like they're really crying because they really do care about the corporate goals, or if they're just pulling a bluff so it looks like they do care about the corporate goals. And that sort of just makes me a little bit confused and slightly upset and annoyed in the process because I don't think you should get that emotional in the process of knowing you met or didn't meet your corporate goals. I think it should just be something that's really stoic, like really calm, and you just understand it and you acknowledge it, but you don't let the emotions really take over your mindset. Because I think that if you become too emotionally involved, especially in really anything you do, your mindset will be cloudy and you can't think clearly, especially in a professional setting where you have to be in this mindset where you can think critically and on task and on time. If you start breaking down during a meeting and pretend you care about your corporate goals, I just think that you might lose people because it might seem just kind of fake along the way. And really too, is that if you become really emotional about the corporate goals, a company will like that because it really just spins you up emotionally and gets you attached. And they might do this tactic on you, so be aware if they're doing that to you. And really that just makes you a better employee because you're that more attached, that more stressed out, that much more thinking about the corporate goals rather than your own personal goals. And I think that you should really be more focused about your personal goals than your corporate goals, because a company, if there is a downturn, economic downturn, or a massive layoff, you are really just a number in the system, and they will cut the metric and remove you if they think that's how it's going to make it more beneficial and profitable for the company. And so with that in mind, if you are understanding that it's really your personal goals that matter the most, the corporate goals won't affect you as much emotionally, or hopefully they don't at all. And then you just understand that you need to spend your extra time focusing on having discipline and working on your own personal goals to develop more multiple income streams along the way. I would also recommend to you, if you haven't done so already, I would recommend learning about passive income. And the reason why I am so big on passive income is that, so if there is a time where you might lose your job, or you might lose those active income streams, or maybe you're not healthy enough to work, those passive income streams will continuously deliver you money on the side with minimal effort. So then you can rest at night knowing that you still have some baseline of income stream, so then you're not homeless on the side. So you are providing a service when you work at a company, and you should really value your time and understand that you are basically negotiating your time for the company. And so when you work at a company, more often than not, especially if it's a very technical company, they do own the mind and the knowledge that you have. And this might be discouraging at times because you feel like your boss may own you, or the company may own you because you're an employee under that company. But I just want to remind you guys that you are human, you do have choices. Obviously, follow the rules and regulations along the way, but if you are unhappy with your situation, perhaps try flipping jobs in the company, like changing jobs or changing roles, or just even changing teams. And if that doesn't do it for you, you can always change companies. Really, I don't want you guys to become depressed and sad that you just feel stuck and you can't do anything. That for me is personally not something that I like, or I want you guys to feel. I think really ultimately it's about having that drive, that motivation, and really the self-help is absolutely key to improving your mindset and your situation. So if you're unhappy with something, I encourage you to find ways to change it to improve your own lifestyle. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so you should really just value your time at a company, and remember to not be too loyal. Like sure, you can show up every day, follow those requirements, those social requirements, those corporate games, just to maintain that job while you build up your passive income or several income streams, if that is what you want to do. But just remember that your time is also very precious, and so are you as a human being for yourself. A company will look at you as a metric. So if there's an economic downturn or massive layoffs, so you are simply just a number. And a company will kick you to the can in an instant, so in a heartbeat, if they realize that they need to make their metrics look good. I've known people over my life where they will say that at a company, every single year, at the end of the year, there's always a layoff. At the lower bottom of the tier, as they call, they would just lay you off to make the metrics look good and boost the profits for their shareholders. So then that following year, they would hire new employees to backfill for all the work that they can't supply, that they can't actually finish. And this is a really unfair and unhealthy cycle for a company and for an employee, because people have to maintain a certain income level to survive just on their own, like to pay for house payments or even just food in general. And so just remember that a company will not be loyal to you, because ultimately to them, it's the bottom line. How much money are they making? Can they meet their requirements? And if it's too expensive, how many people can they lay off? So just be aware, don't be emotional, just have that mindset and understanding that you're there temporarily. They can get rid of you at any minute. And so if that does ever happen to you, where you are being asked to be laid off, just understand emotionally that that can happen. So I would also encourage you, because of that, you should also have a emergency backup reserves just in case that does happen, or life may be unfair, that you can still financially support yourself. Along with that, so if you are experiencing massive layoffs, a way to maybe try to keep yourself from being laid off is you might have to play 2 types of social games along the way. You might have to pretend to be the best employee, so the top performer, you do the most work, you stay the longest hours, or you become most socially liked, so then they just can't remove you because they like you so much. So you might have to play those games, and just remember that's the social game that's just how corporations are. So remember that in case there is a time where you anticipate there may be a layoff down the road. So social games can also lead to unhealthy relationships, so really be mindful of that. Your reputation in a company is extremely important. If your reputation goes down, people will start talking bad about you, which will eventually be heard across the company, and they're going to find a way to lay you off. So you're going to have to play that social game along the way, and remember to not talk bad about anyone, because those words do float around and it will eventually come on you for your 1-year profile review, and they're gonna use that against you. So just be mindful of what you're saying. So some situations that you may experience is that conversations may be extremely low level. They might just be, how are you? What are you up to? How's your weekend? And those things are gonna be real basic, because people are really concerned about not hurting other people's opinion and feelings, because they are afraid that they might be thought of as a very rude and bad individual. So more often than not, I have heard people say that they are just living the dream, and I can just see it in their face that they're totally depressed, unhappy, and they'd rather be doing something else. And on top of that, I've also heard people say that the best time of the day is not lunchtime, but when you leave for the day. And if you experience that you are in the same situation, perhaps it's time for change, because you really shouldn't be counting down the hours to get out of your job. Like, if you do spend most of your time at a job and you don't like it, you should find ways to change it up so that you at least enjoy it more, while you focus again on the side streams of hopefully something that'll be more entertaining and make you happier while you do make income. And so one of the biggest gripes that I've heard before is that you might hear your boss or your team say, we have a really challenging task coming up, and I think this is an excellent opportunity for someone to demonstrate their skill sets. It's going to require you to stay extra late along the way, but if you do that, then we will like you more. And so I've heard this many times, and to me personally, this really is just aggravating and annoys me, because basically what they're saying is, we want you to take on more work. It's going to be extremely challenging along the way, and you're going to get paid the same or less if they don't even offer overtime. So if you're working more hours, and let's say you're a salaried employee, they're not going to pay you any more over 40 hours most of the time, depending on the company that you're at. And so you're going to be working more hours, which essentially lowers your hourly rate, and you're making less money. And one of the reasons why this does annoy me is that when you have to work extra hours or stay extremely late, is that I am just so big on valuing time, and I think our time is just so limited. So when you have to give up more of your life for a company, that just annoys me. Overall, guys, to wrap it up, I understand that there are times where you might have to be at a corporation or have to work at a job to sustain a certain level of income to just survive and meet your basic needs. I just want to remind you, and the whole point of this video is to not bash on that working in a corporation sucks, you should quit your job and then lose all the income streams that you have. If you're in a situation that you don't like, you should be thinking about having that mindset of how can you improve it? How can you develop more income streams? How can you develop an income stream that you enjoy doing so that you actually are happier with the life that you do have? We are all about just empowering yourself, having that self-help along the way so that you are much happier and you live that life that you want, and you don't just let the 40 years go by and then you're very unhappy and depressed because you didn't do exactly what you wanted to do, and now life is just extremely sad. That is exactly what I am trying to prevent for you guys, and that is one of the primary reasons why I developed this channel, is so that you can live a fulfilling life and perhaps develop passive income along the way, so that you get more of your personal time back and get to really focus on the things that you want to do that make you happy, and so that you are ultimately fulfilled. And tips for the corporate games and the corporate social circle, just remember that your reputation is absolutely important. Remember that you stay extra late and then you take on more work than you can handle. You get what I mean, guys. You understand. Essentially, just make sure you have your peers really do like you and that you're doing some good work while you're there, so that when you put in the minimum amount of hours or the 40 hours or whatever the requirement is for you guys, just deliver good work while you're there so that you can retain or maintain that income level while you still focus on other things that you might be wanting to do. And remember, a job may just be a temporary thing, so have that in your back of your mind. If you're really not liking it, but you know that you have to continuously do it, just remember there's a reason behind it and that you're trying to work on something else that's bigger and better than what you're currently doing right now. And that should motivate you to work even harder towards your goals. Ultimately, at the end of it all, I think you should enjoy what you spend your time doing, especially if that's going to take up most of your time. So if you can find ways to develop multiple income streams and passive income, I think you'll be much happier down the road. So why not try that and just enjoy it? Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, as a reminder, I didn't want it to be very negative. I just want to make it with a positive spin, with reminders of how to interact in the corporate game, the corporate life, and having those social games that come along with it. Thank you guys so much for watching the Growth Mindset channel. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to post below and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching, and again, thank you so much for helping us reach 100 subscribers. We got to 100 subscribers before the end of the year, which was one of my personal New Year's resolutions. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do me a favor by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with one of your friends. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.